You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. I'm your host, Eden, and I'm so excited to offer you this bonus series called the CBRDBR series. This side series is a forum for us to meet interesting guests with unique perspectives and gifts discovered from lived experiences that are both practical and woo. Let's dive in. On this episode of the CBRDBR series, I'd like to introduce you to Rachel Lavin. Rachel is a professional speaker, body love educator, certified personal trainer, certified personal health coach, and the author of The Donut Diaries. The Donut Diaries chronicles Rachel's personal struggles with her weight and restrictive diets, which lasted for over 30 years. As Rachel turned 40, she chose to take back her power and heal from decades of negative thinking and self-sabotage. Rachel began to do the work on her mind, body, and soul. Writing her book was her way of sharing her message with her audience and letting them know that they are not alone in their experiences. Rachel's mission is to create a safe space for women to feel whole in themselves and in their bodies. Hello, Rachel. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to welcome you to the CBRDBR series on Practical and Woo. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderfully, and thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, I was very excited for the prospect of this conversation that we're going to have, and the topics that you are an expert in and the topics that you write about are ones that are near and dear to my heart. And I can feel maybe the audience is getting curious about what those topics might be, though in the introduction, I definitely spoke about it. But still, how did you come to be where you are right now? Like, what is your journey to meeting in this moment that we are finding ourselves in?
Well, it was so personal for me because I struggled with my own, not only actual physical weight, but the way that I perceived myself for more than half my life. And, turning 40 was such a pivotal time for me because I really got to the point where I wanted to love myself. I wanted to accept myself, but I knew that I had to do some work on myself to get there. I just got really tired of feeling like I wasn't enough or my body wasn't the right body for my industry. I just got so tired of it. And so I took it upon myself to really kind of heal from all of that, pain and torture that I was really doing to myself. And, coming out the other side of that has been such a rewarding thing. And I would never, never trade my experience for anything else.
That's such a juicy feeling. And I know the tenderness of going through something so painful. And then the brilliant, shiny celebration of being able to take that sigh of relief on the other end, even though it's an ongoing process, I'm sure, and an ongoing journey, but that ability to stand on the mountaintop looking back and saying, oh, I did this. And particularly when it comes to body love, from my own experience, like your body is with you 24/7. So where other topics you can find respite from, it is incredibly difficult to hide from your body, which is why body self-love is so fundamental to the well-being of humans of all different shapes, sizes, and compositions. So I know you wrote a book too. I do want to talk about the Donut Diaries too and what can be discovered in the Donut Diaries, but what is your perspective on self-love and how can people start incorporating more body love into their lives?
Absolutely. Well, I think body love, and any woman will tell you that there's so many coin phrases being thrown around out there, especially now. Body positivity, body neutrality, body love. I honestly don't care what you say. What I'm trying to kind of express and elaborate on is that you really can't love the outside of yourself without loving yourself from the inside. It just, I've tried many, many times and it just, crashed and burned and I failed every time until I really took a look on the inside. And like I mentioned earlier, dealt with why did I feel this way about myself? Or why didn't I feel this way about myself? There wasn't really any kind of long term shift. It was maybe temporary when I, especially if I had a big major weight loss, I would be like, oh, I am beautiful. And then, of course, the weight would come back and all that would go away. And that just wasn't making any sense to me. So that's why I really, truly latched on to body love, because I think it's so important to understand that it really is an inside out journey process, whatever word you'd like to use. And for me, what I needed to do were two major things, because I took notice of how horribly I was speaking to myself, thinking about myself. So I really had to do something proactive to change that. And what worked for me was, you can call them affirmations, mantras, positive thinking, whatever you would like. But I took post-it notes in my favorite color, hot pink, and I wrote things on them such as, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are enough, you are all those things, and put them in places where I knew that I had to look at them every day, multiple times a day. And what I realized, that I couldn't just say it, think it. I mean, excuse me, I couldn't just see it and think it. I had to say it out loud and accept the fact that I wasn't really going to believe them at first. And I think that helped me stick with it. But I love to give that task to women who are kind of just on this, the beginning of this journey, because we are so cruel to ourselves. We think some of the most awful things about ourselves, and then we project those into the world. And ladies, they are just not true.
Yes, high fiving you on that one. That is, oh, thank you. And affirmation work, it sounds, especially if you're feeling so down in the dumps or so desperate in a situation where you're like, and again, your body is your closest physical being, right? Where you cannot ever escape it. And so it might feel so counterintuitive to say affirmations, especially ones that you don't believe, but it's really about trying to establish that new relationship with yourself and prioritizing that resiliency, moving through the feelings that you're feeling in your body. Like, how does this resonate with you? Is this what you found in your journey with affirmation work?
Absolutely. I love the word that you kind of use when you're feeling so desperate and feeling like you've done everything else. And honestly, for the cost of a pen and a package of post-its to begin to get my freedom back, I'm like, yeah, yes, please. And that's
Yes.
why I love to give out this task to other women, because, you know, we're in a time where the cost of your mental health, your freedom, your sanity, your liberation, your whatever you would like to call it, is expensive. You know, there's programs, there's things, there's health coaches, there's spas, there's retreats. And I love all of that. And I think we're all trying to figure out how to help each other. And I love that too. But at the end of the day, it's about the money, right? And so why not work on yourself by yourself for a little while? Because I think so many of us have tried everything they can on the outside. And I can speak from experience as well. I did that too. But until I kind of just like shut out the noise, got quiet, and sat with myself, that's when things started to open up. It's like, oh, I can do this, or I do need a little more help in this area, or, you know, whatever, just the realizations that continually come through when you don't have all the noise going on.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's so integral, and in the reality creation space, in particular the law of assumption space, it's about honing that self-concept, right? And the belief from, and the stuff we talk about on this podcast is the magic behind reality, and behind reality creation, and tapping into the empowerment of woo. And so in the law of assumption space, there's this concept called honing your self-concept. And it's about really embodying that identity, and trying to don those feelings as you are, or as you are desiring to be, right? The version of yourself you're trying to get to, now. It doesn't matter what the shell looks like, and learning to find that appreciation for the way that your shell looks like now, knowing that it's temporal, right? You weren't always that way. So if it could change for you to be the way you are now, it could change for you to be something else as well. And I found in my own journey, the negative relationship that I had with the societal messaging around exercise and diet and the shoulds of it, and they're constantly changing and they're different for every person, and there's so much noise in that industry that it becomes so easy to tell yourself that you're not doing enough. And then that's again then perpetuating that same self-concept of I am not enough, I am never going to get this, everything sucks, my body. And you can hear kind of the reality that may be constructed, or the lens that you'll be wearing when you perceive your reality when you put on that self-concept. How does this resonate with you, and how is this like tied into your own experience? How are you feeling in your body now? And when you dip, which we're all human, you know, we all go through different states and paradigm shifts, and they're a spectrum of ones that kind of advance our growth. But how does this resonate with you, I guess, is the question that I have.
The question, yeah, to answer your question, it absolutely does resonate with me. I can't, I mean, when you're speaking, I'm just like, yes, I remember going through all those stages, and in 100% transparency, I still have my moments where the shell, the vessel, my body, I look at it with frustration, but I do see how far I've come, because when I was in it really hardcore, it wasn't just like, I don't love the way I look today. It's a moment. It was, I hate you. I feel betrayed by you. I don't even want to look at you, and I don't even want to go out into the world because of the way you look. So that is for me like the huge arc of, I don't like the way you look at this moment, and then I can breathe through it and move on about my day, as opposed to just like getting and being stuck there. So it is a journey, it is ongoing, it is a process. But if any woman who's listening has been where I was, who still is now, there is hope. There is a promise of feeling like you can love yourself, even if there's moments when you don't like yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have chills. And that contrast between how you approach yourself now to how you approached yourself when you were first starting your journey is a huge tool and resource to offer. It doesn't have to be so extreme. It doesn't have to be so black and white. And in fact, I don't really see a difference with how you're speaking to yourself now with how you might speak to a friend. Like, friends will frustrate you sometimes, and that's
Yeah,
okay. But you can still show up in that tenderness, like, I am feeling a little bit frustrated by you right now, body. And that's
yeah,
okay. And I love you anyway. And
yes,
then you can also focus on something that is working in your favor. Like, well, my arms are feeling strong to pick up this heavy load, or my legs are feeling able at this moment, if your legs are feeling able to go on a walk and take yourself on an adventure, and then to then kind of reframe in that direction. But I love that contrast. Another question that's coming to mind is, what is your perspective on the societal kind of framework that we're living in? And, you know, the women's rights movement by and large is a very short journey of
mm-hmm.
liberation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like even though we are living in 2023, this episode also might come out in 2024. So I'm not sure. Just as a caveat, these are pre-recorded. We are living in 2023, 2024, and there's still so much yet to be done. Like, women couldn't own their own credit cards as recently as the 60s. And so sometimes this convoluted self-love, self-body, self-worth conversation is so wrapped up in just the history of women's rights movement and how we are being fed by society at large. And so what's your perspective of the landscape? I think that could be a really interesting conversation to open up.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you 100%. We are so much further than in just a few years. Like the Me Too movement was so pivotal for women. I believe for me, I just think that women have been so afraid to use their voice when it comes to men, when it comes to ourselves, when it comes to our body and what it looks like, and of what we want in our own life, as opposed to what our mothers told us what we had to do.
Mm,
And I just think that the generations that are, the younger generations are really able to have a different thought process, a different life, a different way of being. And I'm so grateful for that.
mhm.
Do we still have so far to go? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to take centuries. I mean, if you think about it, like you mentioned, for so many years, so many centuries, women were just a little, ornament, or they were just like, you do this, this is your job, you have the babies, you take care of the house. And then the workforce happened, and now the equal in pay. And now here we are having its second moment, because body positivity kind of had its tiny moment in the 90s, and then it went away real quick, and we're still, no, you have to be thin, you have to be this, you have to be 36, 24, whatever. That is so ingrained in all of us women that it's going to take some time to really evolve from that. I have to, especially being in this space, trying to teach body love. Women still fight me. They still fight me big time, and don't want to let go of their beliefs. And, instead of getting angry and saying, you have to love yourself, it's like, okay, I'm going to meet you where you're at. And hopefully you too can get there one day. And that's all I can do.
Yeah, no, I completely, and usually that resistance comes from fear, but I want to be beautiful. No, you're allowed to be beautiful, but we can also expand our lens and our consideration of what is beautiful. What does beautiful mean? Are you trying to achieve this standard of beauty that you feel will make you feel a certain way later, or are you feeling beautiful now? Because beauty can happen right now, and that's that inner work, and that's part of that inner journey. But even so, back to the like societal conversation as well, if right, like women's worth in our society for a really long time was their fitness as child bearers and or their beauty, and it was a very narrow conforming vision of what that looked like. And so that messaging is passed on generationally, like only 50 years ago. Like it's not so long ago. And so when we take the agency to own our self-concept, to own how we choose to feel, to decide and redefine what beauty looks like for us. And yes, you can still get your facials and your hair done and anything that makes you feel beautiful. Do those things. Why not? But make sure you're doing them for your sense of what is beautiful, not to try to achieve something that will then make you feel happy and fulfilled later. I think that's a distinction that people get afraid to open up, because they're like, do I have to admit that I'm not never going to be beautiful? Yes, you are beautiful right now. And you have access to that essence, that energy, that feeling. So what makes you feel beautiful in your life, Rachel? I would love to know.
I mean, so many things, to be honest with you, but the fact that I can embrace who I am as a woman, as a person, and not let my outer appearance be the barometer of that. Like, I just, still, as I'm stepping into this person, it's like I do think back, and I don't get down on myself about it. It's just a wow, that I felt so in my body. Like I was only these things if I was thin, or if I was, in shape, not when I have an extra 20 pounds on me. It was just so weird for me that all those good qualities that I have about myself went away when I gained weight. It was just, now that I know, okay, the weight is there, but I'm still all those things. And that makes me feel beautiful because I feel whole.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I have like full body chills. That wholeness is so important because there are
Yeah.
times like I, I feel like you talked about this a little bit in our pre-meeting, but you said you got down to your ideal weight and you felt miserable.
Yeah.
And I think you talk about this in
Yeah.
the Donut Diaries. This is part of what you can explore and experience in the Donut Diaries. Okay, perfect, good. I did not make things up, and this is all accurate information. But there's times in my own life where I have also reached like I feel like I am looking, you're like kind of objectively but subjectively looking at yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then you like expand your mindset to like what else is going on in my life. Well, I'm not happy. I'm lonely. My relationships are a mess. I'm like not as far like it's the holistic account. If you're constantly putting all of your energy into chasing the standards of beauty, what else are you letting slip away in your life? Right? Like that's a really that's a hard truth. I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
to look at, but it's better to think about that hard truth before you're in the pit, I would say. Or it's not better. I mean, if you get into the pit, that pit serves to help you get out of it if you're willing to do the work and to transform. But I feel like through the journey that you're offering people, others can not have to suffer as much chasing these ideals if this is resonating, right? To understand like how am I applying myself? How am I appreciating the holistic blessings of my life? How am I showing up in my relationships? How am I establishing my connection to my community? How am I um, showing up for myself? Right. And so I don't know. This conversation is one that I'm obviously very passionate about. So, what else happens in the Donut Diaries that our audience can feel very, very excited to peruse?
Well, it is definitely my story of my journey of, 40 years, turning 40, finding, my freedom, finding the light at the end of the tunnel. And it kind of, stops there because that's where I had come to at that point. I feel like there's another book brewing in me to kind of, the journey doesn't end. Not that I didn't understand that, but I think sometimes when you've gone such a huge distance from what you believed about yourself to a new belief system, you're like, oh, I did it. And then a new set of belief systems have to kind of, you're like, oh, it's never ending. But I think the more we do that, the more we have to kind of learn about ourselves and learn what our purpose in this world is. You gain tools along the way. So I don't think it's ever going to be as hard as it was when I was just completely lost, but it's not easy. And I do like to tell people who are kind of interested or want to start this journey, like you have to appreciate the process 100% because there are going to be days where you're like, I don't want to do this today. But you have to, I love to tell people, you have to think back, what you've been doing isn't working. And that's why you're here. So just one more day, just do it one more day. And I think that can get you over that hump of like, this is too hard.
Oh my gosh, yes, that you are so relatable. I'm just like, yes, all of it. Like the process of any journey that we take. Isn't it? Life is so humbling. Oh,
Mhm.
it's so humbling. As soon as you get to a certain point in your journey, your ego kind of takes over the ship often, and it's like, look at me, yay! And then like you're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
going down the roller coaster again. Here we go. But we're being asked to learn all of these beautiful ripened lessons about how to connect back to yourself. How do you connect back to the essence of who you are? How do you connect to humility, to trust, to faith, to reverence, to joy, to ecstasy, to bliss, right? There's all of these like kind of portals of energy and essence that is available for us to learn from as a student of life. And to me, that's exciting, even when it's painful, and even when I'm like, okay, it's like a mother going through childbirth, right? You're gonna either be like, okay, stop it right now and try to suck the baby back in, or you're just going to understand that it's temporary and you're going to breathe through it and you're going to learn something profound. In the case of the mother, you've created a new life, right? And so we're constantly creating these new seeds, these new lives in our journey, and there's going to be contractions and there's going to be pain, but either you can breathe through it and realize that it's serving you in some way, and then take the onus and the ownership to try to be in flow of it and to work with it, or you can resist it and try to suck the baby back in, which
And that's not going to work out.
that's probably not going to work out. No, for no one.
That is a very, very interesting like visual that you've just given me. I think that that is so, I mean, I'm not a mom, so, and I don't know about you, but you're hard pressed not to understand that visual the way that you described it. So that's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, you were inspiring me like left, right, and center. But I honestly, this conversation is one that is completely near and dear to my heart, and it's one that is ongoing for me as well. So to connect with you, and I'm sure there are, I don't even like dozens and dozens and dozens of women who need to hear us having this conversation and to feel inspired to go forward. And oftentimes when we're resistant, it's because we're trying to avoid a certain outcome. But if you open the lens of your life just enough, you probably will realize that you're already experiencing what you're trying to avoid experiencing in the first place.
Agreed. And that's why it's always kind of in your thoughts, because you are trying to evolve whether you want to or not. And I love to tell people, it's like we humans, we make life so hard for something that is so simple. We make this so hard.
Yes. But why do we do that, Rachel? Why do you think we do that?
Well, because I mean, I just think that fear is such a powerful, powerful thing because our thoughts are endless. And instead of just having a thought and like letting it go, it's like, oh, I am fat. I am ugly. I am unlovable. I mean, you just really, I mean, that's how quickly we can build on one single thought. And I wonder, not that it would change my story for anything, but I wonder if the first time I had that thought, if I would have just said, ugh, whatever, it's just a thought, what would have happened to me, you know? And so it's very important to point out how powerful our thoughts are. And if we, and I'm not talking about controlling them because you have no control over them, but it's the attention we give those thoughts is what we can learn to control.
Mm. Yes, yes, all the yes. That is so powerful. My mind is like moving miles and miles a minute right now, and I'm trying to catch it to ground down into the next point. Yes, it's the fear. I saw a TED Talk recently where it was a neuroscientist, and she was talking about how your brain in fear is more likely to be relaxed when it knows something bad is going to happen to you versus if there's an uncertainty around something's bad going to happen. Like it's like doubly more painful if it's an anticipation and uncertainty. Most people would rather know. Absolutely. Like, oh, well, something's bad's going to happen to me, so I might as well just embrace that. Right. But what if the other end of the uncertainty is that something really good, like humans have such a hard time. And I know from my personal experience, I have such a hard time. Like, what if it's really good? There's a fear there too, somehow. How? Like, what if I get everything that I want? There is a, a gasping that happens around that question just as much as the other. And
Yeah.
I think that pushes the dream away. And so, like,
Mm.
what's your perspective? How do you think we can grasp onto the goodness of life and to go more in the flow of the unknown versus being so afraid of what we don't know?
Well, there's a couple of things, and I will tell you, I think fear is taught. And for example, if you grew up in a family where they're always afraid that they're not going to have enough money, of course that's going to be passed on to you unless you make a conscious effort. Like, no, money will come. I have enough money. I mean, just like I had to change my mindset, how I talk to myself about my body, you have to do that with everything. If you're in a mindset of I don't have enough to I have plenty, I don't need anything, whatever I need is going to come to me. And I think so many people, and I did too, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but in the beginning of when you're trying to change a positive mindset, people think you're cuckoo, right? They're like, oh my God, she's like drinking mushroom tea or whatever. But you have to kind of shut out all that judgment and noise and just move forward, because I want to be happy, Rachel. I want to be happy. And that doesn't mean that I will never be surrounded by negativity again. So I have to make that choice that I want to be positive in lieu, or not, that's not the right word. Despite that, despite negativity around me, because it is everywhere, but so is positivity. So it's just a matter of what you choose to see and hear and taste and feel. And again, I'm so sorry, but there are days where it's not easy, and you really have to reach deep inside yourself. And that's why I ask the question all the time: do I want to be happy? And if the answer is yes, then I can't let any of that negativity penetrate that. It's just a conflicting thought process.
Oh, that is so brilliant. Do I want to be happy? Do you want to be happy? Like being your own advocate there and snapping yourself out of that repetitive pattern. There I think it was Michael Beckwith, if I recall. He's a like a spiritual thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
He says that in every situation there's like a 3-part process that you can take in order to kind of go with it more, and I've been employing it lately in my life, and it's been actually quite effective. So the first step is seeking the lesson. What am I being asked to learn? And that I've believed this for forever. And so to see the lesson in something, a lot of people will give pushback around that. Well, like some things are just bad things. I really do think that there's a lesson in everything if you're just willing to peel back the layers and look for it. Like a sore neck, there could be a lesson in that. Like, are you being rigid in your relationships? Or, are you being a bit of a stiff neck? There's a reason why like things are called these things, right? So what is the lesson that I'm being asked to learn here? Okay, well, I'm not prioritizing myself. Okay, well, what can I do about that? You can start that mental journey. So that's step 1. What is the lesson I'm being asked to learn? Step 2 is acknowledging that it is what it is. So the acceptance for the moment, like I'm here. There's nothing that I can do about it. The more I push against this, the more I'm going to be stuck in a finger trap or quicksand that like it'll get tighter and more restrictive. So it is what it is. And the last phase is forgiveness. Forgiveness for everything else that you can't control, and forgiveness for everything else. And so in the context of body, that might look like, okay, what am I being asked to learn? Maybe I'm being asked to learn that there's a new way to look at beauty. Or I'm being asked to learn that as long as I'm healthy, I have so much abundance in my life. Or I'm being asked to learn, like there's a whole array of things that you could be asked to learn from your body. 2 is it is what it is. I am feeling frustrated with my body right now. It is what it is. I know it's temporal and I'm here right now. So I'm going to embrace this moment. And forgiveness. I forgive myself for being cruel. I forgive myself for all of the times that I tried to nitpick or berate. I forgive all of these other extenuating circumstances. And then you move forward. And it's so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, I got emotional just hearing you go through that, because that is beautiful, and I'm going to steal it from you.
Yeah, steal it from Michael Beckwith. I'm pretty sure that's who authored that. And it's amazing. These frameworks are so simple, and we hear them time and time again from coaches, and you can pick out these different stages and steps from a whole array of sources. But when someone puts something into like a structure like that, It's so effective. I have an episode on my podcast called Dare, and it's actually outlining a 4-step process to helping you combat anxiety and overwhelm. And that one is also incredibly, incredibly effective, but it's so simple. You might not try it because it's so simple. When you were talking about, okay, I help my clients, or even in my own journey, I used affirmation. Okay, but people often oversee affirmation or overlook it because it's so simple. That surely can't work for me because it's so simple. It's the framework. When you are in times of crisis, if you can reach towards a framework, then you can help resource and regulate yourself. And I think that that is just like so freaking cool and amazing.
I agree with you.
I would love to talk about, how do you help your clients? Like, what is the process to work with you? Like, what are some of the typical things that you manage with them?
Well, I will be honest and tell you that my way of working with women now has definitely evolved. I mean, when I was strictly a personal trainer, I think, you're taught in our industry, okay, you give someone a program, they follow it, they get results, repeat, rinse and repeat. And I think that's why so many people fail when it comes to their overall fitness and wellness, because it stops working after a while, because A, our bodies adapt. B, you can only restrict and starve yourself and live on 500 calories for so long until your body's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always, people in the fitness industry and people who are trying to strive for results are living in a constant state of frustration because it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped prescribing stuff like that. I was like, we need to relearn how to trust your body. We need to learn, and that could be, if I give a client an exercise and she or he is like, I don't feel this, it doesn't feel good. I hear you. Give me one more set. And if it still is not working, let's shift. There's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of other stuff to do, right? I mean, and then when it comes to the food, I had to really stop and be like, you know what? I'm not a nutritionist. I don't want to tell people what to eat. I don't want to do that. So I put it back on them. I want to try this diet. Okay. Well, tell me what it is so I can research it too, just so I know what's going on. And I'm going to just check in with you and see how you're sleeping, because again, we don't think about everything that a diet plan encompasses, right? It's how you're sleeping, it's your moods, it's, yes, the weight loss or weight gain, it's how your joints and your body feels, it's all of that. So that's just what I've learned how to do, is meet you where you're at. I can't tell you what you can and can't do because I've done it all too, and you could not tell me for nothing. So I have to let people figure it out. I'm here to support you. I'm here to guide you. And I'm here to be honest with you. If you keep telling me something's not working, then I point that out to you.
That's so you're a mirror and a guide, and you have then also the expertise to help people just along in their journeys, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay, so we are about time. So I want to give you the last message. What do you think is the summation of our conversation today? What is the takeaway?
I just think that be comfortable with the word simple. I mean, you and I talked about that, I think, most of the time, how simple of having a beautiful life really is. To just accept having it be simple. Does it take work to get there? Yeah, it does. Is it going to be easy? No. But I think when you let go of that pain and that angst and that belief system that you've had for so long,
Mm-hmm.
you feel physically lighter. You feel mentally lighter. And being happy seems a lot closer than it did.
Yes. Oh, I love it. If you, this to our audience, are interested in Rachel's story, Rachel's book, The Donut Diaries. I just want to make sure I said that right. Yes, The Donut Diaries. I will put all of the information in the show notes and in the description below, including all socials and ways to get in contact. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being here today, having this really powerful conversation. I've had such a blast, and it is incredibly important to spread this awareness around this specific issue, or topic, I should say. So thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Until next time.